Good morning. Welcome to this service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia. I'm Amy Shepard, a member of the Board of Trustees. Whether you're a long-standing member, new to our community, or joining us today for the first time, we welcome all. So this has been an interesting September. As a parent of school-age kids, fall is always exciting. New teachers, new classrooms, and of course, going back to things that are very familiar, sports and artistic activities, and absolutely RE. But this September has been exciting and anxious because much of what is familiar is also completely new. We've had the of repeating things that we expect, but in an entirely new way. Renewal, literally. Our family has found it helpful to accompany 2020's season of renewal with another word. Keeping in mind that this too shall pass, we're resetting our expectations of what we need things to be in this particular moment. And we're trying to find new and creative ways to find joy in things that are new, not just for us individually, but when focusing on the whole. For example, I love that my teenager is forced to spend more quality time with me at home. She does not. My boys love that they can sneak Nutella into their school brain break snacks while my partner Dave and I are on work conference calls. So we reset and focus on the happiness we can hold individually when something is bringing joy to others in our world. We hope you will join us after the service for our virtual coffee hour and join a small group discussion to learn something about what brings joy to others in our UUCA community. Please also watch your inbox and visit our Facebook page to stay up to date on the many ways that UUCA is staying active and building community in this time. When we return to being together again in person, I hope we can renew this focus on appreciating and celebrating the things that bring joy to our community as a whole. And when we do, the shepherds will bring the Nutella.
In today's service, you will hear the sound of the shofar. The shofar is an ancient musical instrument from the Jewish tradition. It is made from the horn of a ram or other animal. This shofar is made from a kadu, which is a kind of antelope. It's always fun to answer questions about the shofar after the service, but since that's not possible right now, let me just tell you a little about it. The shofar is blown like a trumpet by sending a stream of high-pressure air through a small opening in your lips. You can only play a few pitches, so rather than tunes, shofar calls consist of sequences of long and short tones. The three main calls consist of 1, 3, and 9 distinct tones. Then there's the one time in the service where you play a tone and hold it for as long as you can. You might be wondering how. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but we've only got 2 minutes for this segment, so we'll have to wrap it up here. But if you'd like to learn more, I've made this 7-minute video, which you can find at the church's YouTube channel or in the Facebook group. Check the comments section for a link. There I explain a little more about the instrument and how to blow it, and I demonstrate the 3 calls. There are 2 of you. How do you do that? Sometimes you just need a little help. It's okay. Yeah, but also you look familiar. Do I know you? Possibly. I blow the shofar for UUCA, and now it's time to do just that. May the sound of the shofar help to awaken our spirits and bring us hope.
Come, let us claim this time for renewal with words by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations, reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice, and to carve out this time for renewal of your own heart. Despite the din demanding your attention, luring you towards fear and cynicism, you persist with gratitude for this day, for this life that has been given, this chance to begin again. Despite all the forces of fragmentation, the disappointing ways we fail each other, fail ourselves, we must refuse to let grief undo us or to let our dreams get lost along the way. In spite of all the evidence, we keep showing up at the edge of our own longing. And then we keep going, remembering this duty we have to life in a greater sense, this duty we have to each other, to our children and their children. This hope that it is also a choice we make, this promise we fight for, this promise to persist in kindness, persevere in compassion, and prevail in a life that is bound entirely to love. Come, let us worship together in the name of all that is holy. The pictures that you see off to the side of the video are the pictures of the corner feature of our building, this corner window. The architects creatively called this feature the lantern. Viewed at night, our inside light shines out through this tall corner window as a beacon, as a chalice bringing forth both light and warmth to the world. As we enter into sacred time, I invite you to join me in spirit in lighting our chalice. Perhaps you may wish to light a chalice candle at home so that you too may feel the physical warmth of our presence. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world.
We're the cooks. I'm Savannah. This is John. It's Jason and Dana.
We are lighting this chalice.
There we go.
For love, equality, and justice among all human beings. It's a slow candle, so it'll take a while. It goes in here.
Hello, it's me, Reverend Walter, and I don't know if any of you have ever met my son, William. You might not be able to see William right now. He's in the middle of class. William is going to school, like so many of us virtually. And I have to admit, this guy's a really good student, and he does a lot of work, and you'll usually see him for quite a long time throughout the day in his spot in the living room doing work, and a lot of us are doing a lot of work right now. And it reminded me of this story that I'd like to share with you all. It's called Frederick.
Frederick by Leo Leone. All along the meadow where the cows grazed and the horses ran, there was an old stone wall. In that wall, not far from the barn and the granary, a chatty family of field mice had their home. But the farmers had moved away. The barn was abandoned and the granary stood empty, and since winter was not far off, the little mice began to gather corn and nuts and wheat and straw. They all worked day and night, all except Frederick. "Frederick, why don't you work?" they asked. "I do work," said Frederick. "I gather sun rays for the cold, dark winter days." And when they saw Frederick sitting there, staring at a meadow, they said, "And now, Frederick?" "I gather colors," answered Frederick simply, "for winter is gray." And once Frederick seemed half asleep. "Are you dreaming, Frederick?" they asked reproachfully. But Frederick said, "Oh, no, I'm gathering words, for the winter days are long and many, and we'll run out of things to say." The winter days came, and when the first snow fell, the 5 little field mice took to their hideout in the stones. In the beginning there was lots to eat, and the mice told stories of foolish foxes and silly cats. They were a happy family. But little by little they had nibbled up most of the nuts and berries. The straw was gone, and the corn was only a memory. It was cold in the wall, and no one felt like chatting. Then they remembered what Frederick had said about sun rays and colors and words. "What about your supplies, Frederick?" they asked. "Close your eyes," said Frederick as he climbed on a big stone. "Now, I send you the rays of the sun. Do you feel how their golden glow?" And as Frederick spoke of the sun, the 4 little mice began to feel warmer. Was it Frederick's voice? Was it magic? "And how about the colors, Frederick?" they asked anxiously. "Close your eyes again," Frederick said. And when he told them of the blue periwinkles, the red poppies in the yellow wheat, and the green leaves of the berry bush, they saw the colors as clearly as if they had been painted in their minds. "And the words, Frederick?" Frederick cleared his throat, waited a moment, and then, as if from a stage, he said, "Who scatters the snowflakes? Who melts the ice? Who spoils the weather? Who makes it nice? Who grows the 4-leaf clovers in June? Who dims the daylight? Who lights the moon? 4 little field mice who live in the sky. 4 little field mice like you and I. One is the spring mouse who turns on the showers. Then comes the summer, who paints in the flowers. The fall mouse is next, with walnuts and wheat. And winter is last, with little cold feet. Aren't we lucky the seasons are for. Think of a year with one less, or one more. When Frederick had finished, they all applauded. But Frederick, they said, you are a poet. Frederick blushed, took a bow, and said shyly, I know it.
So one of the great things that we learned from Frederick is that hard work is important. And dude, William, my son here, definitely knows about hard work. He works on his computer and does really good work at school. But you also have to have time to enjoy things. You also have to take time to appreciate things that you love, appreciate beauty. You have to have time to enjoy after you've done all of the hard work. And well, this is what my son enjoys. He's playing Super Mario Sunshine? Yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. I guess that's what we need right now, is a little sunshine. Don't forget, when you work hard, to take your time and enjoy what's good.
Reverend A. Powell Davies was the minister of All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C. from 1944 through 1957. We may think of him as our godmother, if you will, as All Souls was the founding mother church of UUCA 72 years ago in 1948. Reverend Davies said, and I quote, "Let me tell you why I come to church. I come to church, and I would whether I was a preacher or not, because I fall below my own standards and need to be constantly brought back to them. I am afraid of becoming selfish and indulgent. But my church, the Church of the Free Spirit, brings me back to what I want to be. I could easily despair, doubt and dismay could overwhelm me, but my church renews my courage and my hope. It is not enough that I should think about the world and its problems at the level of a newspaper report or a magazine article. That would too soon become too low a level. I must have my conscience sharpened until it goads me to the most thorough and responsible thinking of which I am capable. I must feel again the love that I owe to others. I must not only hear about it, but I must feel it. And in church, I do. In church, I am brought toward my best, in every way toward my best." End quote. I too come to church to be renewed in courage and hope, to have my conscience sharpened, to feel again the gratitude and love that I owe to others. While we all have our particular reasons for coming to church, I believe Reverend Davies would feel at home with us today, even virtually. 72 years later, UUCA remains a spiritual community of love and belonging, inspiring hope and courage to live lives of greater purpose. Of course, it remains for us to maintain our community by nurturing the ties of love and care that do bind us together, and by giving of our financial support. We have many ways to give. You can mail a check to the church payable to UUCA with the word offering or pledge in the memo line. You can give online at the church website, uucava.org. Just click on the donate button at the top of the page. You can donate by using the mobile app Give Plus, or by text, or PayPal. Look in your connection newsletter for the links that work best for you. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. And so we commit our offering, and so we commit ourselves. Let us pray together with words by Rabbi Jack Reimer. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red to orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading south once more. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for winter. For the leaves, the birds, the animals, for them, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means recognizing that while we have the ability to change, these things are not. These things are hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. So, Spirit of Life, help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love. Help us to turn from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around, O God, and bring us back towards you. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us towards each other, God, for in isolation there is no life. Many of us have joys that we wish to share, or burdens that are too heavy to carry alone. If there is someone or something that you wish to lift up to the Spirit of Life, we invite you to share it in our virtual Book of Life. If you are watching on Facebook and would like to share with the group, you may enter a note in the chat using the hashtag Book of Life. Otherwise, you may send a brief email to uucabookoflife, one word, @gmail.com. Either way, a Friday prayer group will join their voices with yours confidentially. Diane Ulias, our commissioned lay minister, may reach out to you to see if you would like additional pastoral care. In this time of social distancing and quarantine, may we remember that we are still able to connect with each other emotionally and spiritually, and that our UUCA community is here for us. Our virtual Book of Life and lay pastoral care associates are available for you in stressful moments. Spirit of Life, please come on to us.
Today, as you may know, is Yom Kippur. Thank you, Jay, for sharing the call of the shofar, and David for the prayer you offered that has brought us into this space. Yom Kippur is a time of renewal for Jewish people, those beyond our community, like our friends at Kolami, and those within our community as well. Rosh Hashanah, observed 10 days ago, welcomes the new year with a hope that it might be a sweet one. And Yom Kippur, which is translated as Day of Atonement, invites a reckoning of one's mistakes and an opportunity to seek forgiveness and begin again, to renew not just the year, but one's engagement in the world. In between, those 10 days are called the days of awe, a time for repentance, for prayer, and connection to deepest self and to community. I have been thinking over these 10 days about my friends who are rabbis and wondering how they are navigating all this at this moment, during a national chapter of heightened anti-Semitism, during COVID, during this deeply tense political moment. I have not asked them really, because you don't ask rabbis things during the days of awe. You just send them supportive messages, just like you don't ask Christian ministers things during Holy Week, and you don't ask imams things on Eid al-Fitr. But I have been wondering and sending supportive messages. And I have been wondering how any of us are navigating this time. This time when we feel called to do so much work for the world, when the world seems so in need of our work, and when we ourselves, like on a daily basis, might be feeling scared and exhausted and lonely and just done, as in, I am done with this pandemic. Can it be over now? I wonder, are my friends focusing on supporting their congregants in just making it through the week? Are they able to turn their attention to tikkun olam, the Jewish concept of repair of the world? How do we do this? Renew the world and ourselves. That seems like a lot, especially if it is an either or. I hear that idea at UUCA and in other congregations, and frankly in religious movements in general, that either or of social justice work or spiritual renewal. Are we a place of connecting with the outside, or are we a place where we take care of and nurture ourselves? I had the chance to meet last week with the Social Justice Ministries team. They have been gathering for just over a year with the support and leadership of Reverend Walter. And they have been asking themselves this question, and the deeper question: what does it feel like if we are both? How might our social justice work be our spiritual renewal? How might our spiritual renewal be work for justice? I even heard at the team meeting this radical idea that social justice work is sometimes a form of worship. But it can feel hard, I think. I mean, isn't spiritual renewal for some of us about quiet walks in the woods alone? Yes. And doesn't social justice work sometimes exhaust and deplete us? Yes. I have, along with the days of awe, been thinking these past days about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She is a model for many of us in her work for gender equality, her work on behalf of LGBTQ equality, and her evolving work around racial justice. But what I want to talk about is how much she loved the opera. What a good grandma she was. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's love of the opera was renowned, in part because it highlights another incredible part of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her long friendship with Justice Scalia, opposed in core values and in court opinions in almost every way, and both opera lovers. Many of us might wish that we were flies on the wall during the intermission chat of the operas they attended together. RBG knew that beauty was a part of the life she needed. She said in 2015, recently quoted in the New York Times, "Most of the time, even when I go to sleep, I'm thinking about legal problems. But when I go to the opera, I'm just lost in it." And we need those moments, don't we, of being lost in beauty, lost in music, lost in wonder or joy, lost in our own spirit. But I think it's not only a break from the spinning of our minds that we need. Beauty can inform our sense of justice. If justice is about wanting a world that feels whole, a world repaired, that serves all, that itself, that vision, is a vision of beauty. This makes me think, of course, of Frederick, the mouse from our story today, who knew on some deep mousy level that gathering beauty, gathering colors and sunshine and words would be needed to make it through the winter. As we get ready for the winter to come, I am wondering what we need to gather to prepare ourselves, what beauty and goodness and awe we can store away for when we need it most. Elaine Scarry is an academic and the author of the book On Beauty and Being Just. She agrees with Frederick the Mouse and Frederick's author, Leo Leone. In a 2012 interview with the University of Texas Life and Letters, Elaine Scarry talks about the importance of beauty in leading us to justice and in the danger of being what she calls beauty blind. I want to note the ableist language in Scarry's phrase choice here, and to remember that we are all learning and growing beings. I will, though, share what she says. Beauty, Scarry tells us, is a call for us to educate ourselves and to care for the world. Being beauty blind means that we are cutting ourselves and generations of students off from a very powerful tributary that brings us to a concern with educating ourselves and repairing the world. Scarry thinks that if we ignore beauty or pretend it is frivolous or unneeded in the serious work of social justice or the serious world of academia, we are missing a pathway toward exactly that justice we seek. Beauty, spiritual renewal, leads to justice work. Awe in the forest, or being transported by hearing Kiri Te Kanawa sing an aria, or hearing Salt and Peppa celebrate the human body. These experiences of transcendence and transportation, they move us toward greater love for the world, greater contributions to the world's repair. Not separate, but connected. Though not, it is important, I think, to acknowledge realistically, always at the same time. Ann Joyce wrote an article for the Washington Post in the past week, quoting Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ginsburg said to The Atlantic a number of years ago, "I attributed my success in law school largely to Jane," her daughter, who was 14 months old when Ginsburg started law school. "I felt," said Ginsburg, "each part of my life gave me respite from the other." And then in 2014, she told Katie Couric, "You can't have it all at once. But over my lifespan, I think I have had it all." Of course, that was possible for Ginsburg in part because of her privilege as a white woman with opportunities for formal education and relative economic wealth. And also because of the very changes she put into place to make it possible, changes to the system to protect working mothers. Part of our work is to protect those changes, to extend them so that they apply equally and as accessibly to women of color and parents without economic privilege. Universal daycare, subliminal message. But on a deeper level, Ginsburg's quote, "Over my lifespan, I have had it all," speaks to one of the truths I have experienced. You know, we talk a lot about the balance of work and life, or the balance of inner work and focus on the outer world. I have yet to experience that all elusive balance when I find that everything is in perfect harmony with each other. Instead, I experience life as a seesaw. Times when I am able to be fully present for my children, and other times when what requires my presence is my work. Times when I am focused internally, and times when I am deeply connected to the justice work of the outer world. Or perhaps life as a braid, each part of life coming together, sloppy and uneven, the way that braids often are, but ultimately one piece. You are perhaps becoming aware that I do like metaphors for what life might be. Don't even get me started on life as a labyrinth. That is literally a different sermon. But life as a seesaw or a braid, life as all these things over our lifetimes, that feels real to me. There is a Unitarian Universalist hymn for this idea. I think there is a Unitarian Universalist hymn for almost any idea, but this is one of my favorites. This hymn has words by Bruce Findlow and beautiful music by Patrick Rickey. It is called "For All That Is Our Life." For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use, to build the common good and make our own days glad. To build the common good, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and make our own days glad. Sometimes those things are one. We are building the common good, and that is making our days glad. Our justice work is informing and growing who we are spiritually. Sometimes they are one, and it is the reverse. It is that in making our days glad, we build the common good. I think of gatherings set aside for Black joy. As scholar Imani Perry wrote in The Atlantic, joy is not found in the absence of pain and suffering, it exists through it. Blackness is an immense and defiant joy. Or I think of the glitter of a pride parade, a movement which began as a riot and has moved forward to incorporate both protest and fierce celebration. Sometimes the building the common good and the making our own days glad aren't the same exact moment. Perhaps we need a day or two, or a year or two, of focusing inward before we turn outward. Or perhaps the work for justice calls to us and we know we will have some long days and challenging weeks ahead. But always they inform each other. The renewal the world seeks and the renewal we seek ourselves. Most fundamentally, this is what collective liberation means to me. Another piece of wisdom from that Social Justice Ministries team meeting, the deep knowledge that, as Fannie Lou Hamer put it, none of us are free until all of us are free. That our liberation is collective. All of us are stuck in the lack of freedom some hold. All of us will be liberated together. We are renewed and the world is renewed. The world is free and we are free. In the days of awe, during the time of atonement and renewal, the conversation is so often around this. How our own lives, our most personal mistakes, repentance, forgiveness, and recommitment is connected to the renewal of the world, to tikkun olam. It is a scary time out there. It is a scary time, especially for those of us who carry marginalized identities, for those of us whose lives and bodies have been legislated in the past and may be legislated again. It is a scary time for those of us who live on this planet Earth we share. I cannot take away that fear, but I want to honor it, to hold it with you if you are holding it most particularly now. It is also a time when the beautiful, the just may yet be emerging. When our commitment to renewal of ourselves and of the world may yet continue to blossom. And what I know is that for us to move forward, we need all of the beauty and all of the justice, all of the colors and all of the wheat. We need all of us for the world to be made whole. I return again and again to the words of my colleague Teresa Inés Soto. All of us need all of us to make it. All of us need all of us. Our liberation is collective. The renewal of the world is my renewal too. We need the beauty to create the good, our own flourishing to help the world to flourish. So let's gather beauty, friends. Let's build the common good and make our own days glad. Right at the same time or braided together into the life we share. Together, we renew and we renew the world. May it be so.
הנה מה טובו מנעים, שבת אחים קם יחד. הנה מה טובו נעים, שבת אחים קם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים קם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Amen.
how good it is to be together. Despite everything, friends, we create beauty, we find it, and in the finding, we are inspired toward justice. Today, this week, may you find beauty. May you build justice. May we come together and renew ourselves and the world again and again. May it be so.